Hi, Anilamation here. In this tutorial, I'll continue a note I left off with the previous one on modeling strategies with Maya. Here I'll go over some ideas and best practices on how to create the right topology while preserving the least amount of resolution for keeping our large scenes manageable. Tangentially, I'll demonstrate how to create an Nike handle rig. Modeling is a creative process. You need to come up with creative ways to reshape in topology constantly, while you keep adding resolution. When modeling, you need to make a good judgment on how much resolution is needed while respecting topology and where. There is a decision you need to make when it comes to keeping a low resolution poly, which is always the goal, to a well-constructed model which goes along with the topology. The idea is that we should not add one single extra edge unless it's necessary. Extra edges, when talking about a big complex scene, will add up to making your files large and lagging, be them feature animations or for game purposes. So you must strive to keep your polygons at the minimum resolution, while on the other hand the topology it will demand have a higher resolution to specific locations of the model, like knees, elbows, face, and all the locations when the mesh will deform in your animations. You want to work with low polygons, even when animating your character, keeping in mind that you are going to smooth your models only when preparing for rendering and outputting your final product. To see how the mesh resolution helps in deformations, I have prepared a bit of rigging on the side. I have created a simple cylinder and then created a Nike handle. I'm going to recreate this rig on another cylinder with much higher mesh resolution to see the difference when we deform them. I'll go ahead and group cylinder 1 first, Command G, and this is going to be the cylinder 1. Command D to create the cylinder 2, modify center pivot, push it on the side. I'll delete the previous rig because we're going to recreate this. These are locked properties because the skin was binded. So we're going to unlock the selected, delete by type history, and modify freeze transforms. It's a good habit to do this both to have a clean mesh. To make this different from the first one, I am going to increase the resolution by adding some edge loops. If this was a primitive, I could have easily done this from the channels layers here. Going in object mode, front view, F to frame it, and let's hide the grid. And we can also hide the polygon counts. I'm going to go ahead and rig it, create some joints, bit of a bend here, okay, and click return to accept this. And then we can select all the joints here together with the mesh, and we can bind skin. And it's gonna take a bit of time. Next, create Nike handle. Click on the first join, shift click on the second one. I noticed that the rig broke, so I'm recreating this quickly. Hold down shift, you can open the whole chain of the joints here. Select all of them, shift select the mesh, skin, bind skin. Next, create the Nike handle, select join 7, command click join 9, and here we're done. So now let's go and check out the deformations. For the first cylinder, which has a very low polygon count, we get this rough blocky shape, while for this other one we get quite smooth deformations. So as you can imagine, in this example here, this knee with much higher resolution is going to produce much better results than the other one. Now let's go on and talk about another very important practice when modeling. For getting best deformations in our animations, the rule of thumb is to keep it all quads. Quads meaning that the polygon faces have only 4 edges. I'm getting out of the smooth mode by clicking 1 to see this more clearly. And as you can see here, we have faces with 5 edges, and even this one has 6. So let's see how we would go about cleaning up this area. One way to fix that is by creating a quad here. Okay, so it would be much better if we do that. I want to point out something else here. It's not a good idea to have faces poked inside like this one. You see how it's going? And the reason why is because under certain type of lighting, you would see some not so good deformations coming out of this. Let's check out a couple of methods to go about this. I'll select the multicut tool, making sure that I'm snapping into the point here by dragging on the line, and I'm going to end it at this corner. So this is better than a 5-edge face, even though we still have a triangle. And then I'm going to connect it on this other side and accept it. We have triangles now, which is still not so great. Again, we have to strive to have quads. So what would be another better way? Let's go ahead and delete this. And let's see if we can add one more edge loop here. And in fact, I see we have other faces with 5 edges right up here on top, which is perfect to connect it with this edge. So I can just simply go and fix this by adding an edge loop all along and connecting it to this area and accepting this. And so I can do the same for the other side. But let's go ahead and talk another important thing here. We added an edge loop here, and look at those straight lines is creating. The straight line here should actually be in a arc. So without going further, I would immediately go ahead and reshape the area. We don't want straight edges on arc shapes. Let's go ahead and change the axis orientation, which is going to help us to move these vertices perpendicularly to these edges. Double click into the tool settings. We can go ahead and choose one of the presets. Most of the times the component pivot works. As you can see, there are 2 of these axes going almost parallel to the edges. It's not perfect, but it's good enough to shape at this moment. I could have also added the pivot point here. So again, modeling is a creative process. You need to come up with different ways of arranging geometry and modifying topology. We want to keep those surfaces around whenever it's possible. And sometimes, like here, I might want to remove these edges. And I left behind their vertices. So I should go back and instead use the delete edge vertices here. These 2 vertices are so close together, I can use the target weld to connect them. Now, target weld is interesting. Sometimes it connects the vertex that you have used previously instead of the one you're choosing, so make sure you are deselecting first and then use the target weld. Here at the elbow area we have the same problem. We have 5 edge faces. We want to have only quads. Now sometimes it's impossible, like areas on the neck or the wrist where There are lots of edges to connect to. You can't help it but to be creative, to eliminate having a lot of tight edges together, like for example, these 3 quads connected to one point here at the hand. It's a very common strategy for creating bumps and eliminating extra geometry and resolution when possible. The rule of thumb here is that if the camera doesn't see it, it's fine to have some triangles. Okay, so here you go. In this tutorial, we went over some best practices and strategies for creating good topology for our models to achieve some great deformations in our animations. I hope you enjoyed it and make some good use of it.